Welcome back, everyone. So today I want to talk about a topic that came to mind last week when I was talking to a client. And that is, at what point do you shift your mindset and strategy from being a do-it-yourselfer, someone who buys one project at a time or one property at a time, and really how do you scale up your overall wealth journey? And the story here is pretty brief, right? I talked to a client, and the client had this agent who was doing all the work. And what I mean is, the agent was going out looking for opportunities for this client to do a 1031 exchange. Now, if you don't know what that is, that's a tax advantage strategy where you sell one asset and you move it into another asset. And if you do it in a like for like scenario, you more or less shield the taxes or delay the taxes on the initial investment, right? So very commonly used on anyone who owned a property for some time and wants to upgrade into a multifamily or a multifamily into a bigger project and what have you, right? Very powerful instrument. Well, this person had sold a number of businesses, a number of properties, and everything else, and they had about $5.5 million. Okay, and so the agent came to me and said, "Tom, how could I use this money?" And I went about and coached the agent on what I would do. Now, the problem here is that the agent was simply not savvy. They weren't advanced. They didn't understand how to maneuver in the markets. They were an agent and they weren't an investor. They didn't understand how to manage a lot of money. And so when I told them how I would do it, first of all, it's a complex scenario and there's a lot of moving parts here. The agent went and had to sell that to the actual client or the actual investors, right? And I knew that was going to be a problem because I could tell that the agent didn't know what they were doing. And so what they did know is buying single family homes. They knew about buying multifamily apartment buildings. And so that is what the investor went with. Now, the problem with this, right, and nothing against the agent. The agent's just trying to do their job, make their own money, totally fine. But because they didn't have the experience, they didn't understand all the intricacies of the market and how best to manage money, as well as manage risk, they will probably put their investor in a less than optimal situation. And so I'm coming all to you today because a number of you that I work with have a fair amount of money, right? And some of you are just coming up where you're building your wealth and you're building your asset pool, and we're working together to make that happen. But I want to give this message because it's really important. And this is a big shift in a lot of investors that I see. And what I mean is there's a point in time that you have to create a power team, right? And I've talked about this in a number of videos. In my courses, I talk about the idea of a power team. Most of you probably know what a power team is. It's your legal advisor, it's your tax strategist, it's your financial strategist, and it's everyone that makes up the team to help you get to where you want to be. Now, I see this a lot. I see a lot of wealthy individuals, $1 to $5 million in asset worth or more, and they don't have the right people in place. They have lackluster agents, or they have lackluster tax strategists, or they don't even have a tax strategist. They've never talked to a lawyer. They don't have things set up correctly. And it really does become a problem. And so I'm encouraging all of you who are in that wealthy area, whether you're a client of mine or not, and I'm encouraging all of you who are coming up at a point in time. And I think that point in time is right around when you have about $500,000 in asset worth in capital that you're playing with. And if you're older than 45, 50, it's probably good to also consider a power team because risk is really important to measure at that point. When you're younger, 25 to 40, and you can afford risk, and maybe you have $250,000 of asset worth or capital, you don't necessarily need to bring in a tax strategist or a legal advisor or anything else of that sort. But you do need to have a plan in place. But when you are in the upper echelon of wealth and asset worth, it is absolutely crucial that you have that team in place. Okay. And again, because it's hard to invest $5 million, right, and do it accurately. And by the way, if you leave, let's say that situation that I talked about, let's say that investor got a cap rate of 7%, right, on $5.5 million. So they're making about $380,000 a year in profits pre-tax. They'll probably lose $100,000 of that. So now they're at $300,000 in after-tax money. That is a terrible return on $5.5 million. Now, if you were to do it in a way that would maximize returns while also balancing risk, it is very likely that they could have made somewhere around $700,000 to $800,000 a year after taxes, right? And so the net of that is that by having the right team in place, the right power team, the right advisors, they could have doubled their money, right? And that is the importance of this, is that when you don't have the right team in place to guide you to the next point, and if you're working with the wrong people, you're going to be in a bad spot, okay? And so I just wanted to give you all that piece of advice, is that as you're scaling up your life, as you're getting wealthier, as you're growing your asset worth, make sure you have the right people in place to help you do it, right? And one quick way to measure if they're the right people or not, ask yourself, where are they? Have they succeeded, right? Have they gone through this journey and understood how to maneuver in the markets? What are they doing? Have they have a track record of success or not? Right? If you're someone who has $5 million of asset worth, you probably don't want to be with someone who is just coming up and doesn't really understand how to maneuver at that level. Okay, so, and that's just the nature of the beast. I know it's a hard thing to hear, and it's somewhat pretentious, right? But if you really want to make it big, you have to be growing, and the people with you have to be growing, or at least at that level to get you to that place. So, that said, real quick, we are making a lot of maneuvers on land deals. If you're interested, of course, you can email me in the bottom of this video. There's also links to turnkeys, links to private money deals, and everything else. Happy to talk, and I hope you're all doing well. Thank you.